Ignite Your Power, the Kathy Mou Podcast. Today, we have a truly inspiring guest whose story is one of survival, resilience, and transformation. Kara Harrison is a domestic violence survivor, a nationally certified pharmacy technician living in Maine, and a proud nana to a beautiful granddaughter with another on the way this June. That's exciting. Congratulations. Kara's
Thank
journey
you.
has been anything but easy. She survived an abusive marriage with a narcissistic partner, carrying both emotional and physical scars from that time in her life. But in one of her darkest moments, something unexpected happened. While watching Grey's Anatomy, Patrick Dempsey said something that quite literally saved her life, which we will talk about later. That moment led her on a path of healing, and today she gives back by supporting others through the Dempsey Center. In this episode, we'll dive deep into Kara's story, how she found the strength to leave, the misconceptions about domestic abuse, and how she turned her pain into purpose. Whether you're a survivor, know someone who is, or want to learn how to support those in abusive situations, this conversation is for you. So, Kara, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here and sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. So, can you take us back to the beginning? Like, what were the early signs of abuse in your relationship, and how did things like escalate over time?
The early signs, I would say, it actually kind of started shortly after we got married.
Mm.
He had been, you know, got married and he would help me like with the laundry on the weekends and stuff like that. Shortly after I moved in with him which was actually a few months after we got married because I was finishing up a semester at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
His parents started having issues. And so he would go over to his dad's house and try to help him sort through that. And this was a daily thing. And, after a few weeks, I said, hey, while I respect that you're helping your parents, how about, just one day or something, you spend it with me?
Yeah.
And I got painted as insensitive to his parents' situation. And it's really the gaslighting started there
Wow.
when I think about it. But he was very good at wording things to where they made sense.
Hmm.
And that's, I think, where he started really pulling me in. The physical abuse didn't start until I found out that I was pregnant, actually. Uh,
Oh my gosh.
I had called him, said, hey, need to talk to you when we get home. And he walks in the door, you're pregnant, aren't you? And he started trying to talk me into having an abortion because he didn't want kids. We had had the conversation prior to getting married that, yeah, I'll go on birth control, but if I do get pregnant, I don't see myself having an abortion. No
Mhm.
judgment on those who do, but it just wasn't for me. Uh, but as I said, he was trying to talk me into having the abortion, and I was saying, no, we talked about this, and no, I would never agree to that.
Mhm.
He actually pulled this card. My grandpa, my mom's dad, had passed away with cancer the year before. And so he popped off, well, I think your grandpa would be really disappointed in how you're handling this situation. And of course, that just,
Yeah.
I started bawling. I was a mess with that because my grandpa and I had been close. And he hit me and said, well, you were getting hysterical and I didn't want you to hurt yourself. That's the only, he gave me a black eye that one time.
Oh my gosh.
And which of course got explained away.
Yeah. So that's like a narcissistic behavior of like being able to use words against you and to like think everything is not his problem, right?
Exactly. He would definitely find any way he could to either
Yeah.
turn the situation around on me or, take away, put blame on anything else but himself.
Wow. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, but that's so crazy that you're so resilient that you're able to sit here and tell, to tell the listeners about your story. And it shows like how resilient you are truly, because when you tell a story though, you have to go back to like the pain points of like what truly happened. And that's hard
Yeah.
to reflect and to go back to those times. So I really want people to understand, listeners right now, like even you talking about these things is so courageous. And a lot of people that are abused don't want to talk about it because part of them don't want to go back to those memories. And so thank you for being here and being open and honest because I know it's hard, whatever it may be of
Yeah.
any abuse. And I'm so glad that you're able to open about your journey too, honestly, because a lot of people don't talk about these things, so then they feel like they're lonely. And then I want them to have hope that whoever is listening right now in an abusive relationship, they're able to come out and your story is going to help them do that?
I hope so.
Yeah. So many people don't realize they're in an abusive relationship until they're deep in it. So was there a specific moment when you recognized you were in danger?
There were several moments that I recognized that, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a bad place because my ex-husband did at like 2 or 3 points, he did try to kill me. I would wake up in the middle of the night and his hands would be around my throat trying to strangle me, and he would actually ask me, why did you wake up? And even with that, I would say, hey, what are you doing? And he at one point said, well, I was trying to do you a favor because you want to die anyways.
What?
And yes.
Why would he say something like that? Is it because he wanted to like
I'm
I don't get it. That's so
I
crazy.
don't really get what he got out of that. He would claim that, you don't want to initiate anything in the bedroom. You don't clean the house good enough or anything like that. Of course, I was the one, my ex was disabled. So I was the one with a job. I was pretty much, as I put it, a married single mother, which I know some of your listeners will relate to because anything having to do with the child care, doctor's appointments, school, fixing meals, cleaning, everything lands on your shoulders, and they're going off with their buddies and doing whatever. Uh,
Wow. So
so
thank you for sharing that because I think it's so important for people to understand that, like what you said though, he was a totally different person, right? Before you guys finally got married and you said you moved in. So you didn't even
yeah,
notice or even be able to detect this, right? He was only abusive
no,
after you guys got married and he showed his true colors.
yeah, and it's very, very slow, very methodical. A lot of times, it starts and you don't really realize that that's what's starting. And by the time that you realize, hey, I'm in this, and occasionally I did think, okay, how do I get out of this? But he would, it was kind of like, there is a graphic on that I have on my Instagram page where it's a doorway and it's a brick wall.
Mhm.
That brick wall has every single reason why abuse victims don't leave.
Mhm.
And what they don't realize is that's a hologram. You physically, yes, we can walk out that door, but we are seeing the brick wall.
Mhm.
We're seeing he'll take the kids. That was one of the
Yeah.
threats that I got. Oh, you'll never see Lucas again. You'll never, he was financially abusive as well. He had dogs, and I was the one that, of course, bought the dog food with him saying, "Oh, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back," and he never did. Of course, um, you don't have the money to leave. They he hadn't really alienated my folks. We still went and saw them on holidays and such. But whenever we would leave, he would start in and say, well, why does your mom do this? Why does your sister do that? And as I said, he was very good at wording things to where they made sense. And it caused me to pull away.
Oh, wow. So he's like manipulating you in a way.
Very. They are very manipulative.
That is so crazy. So how do you see signs of this? Or you didn't even see any signs when you guys were dating, right? Like you
No,
wow.
no,
That,
when we were dating, I mean, the most he ever got mad at me was whenever I would try to open a door by myself or
oh,
something. I mean, and that was just kind of, that wasn't even really mad. It was just kind of, stop that. You don't, you know,
wow.
you're not supposed to open that door, just kind of joking around.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, there were no signs when we were dating.
Wow. And how long were you guys married, if I can ask? Like, how long were you guys together before you actually got married?
We had actually, we had met online in March of 2000. A friend of his had answered my Yahoo personal ad that I had set up for pen pals, asking me if I would mind going to prom with him. Okay, okay, he's lives 15 miles from me. Why not? You know. And so we actually met a couple of weeks later at a pizza restaurant there in Oklahoma, and we hit it off. And it was October of 2000 that we got married. Actually, he proposed right before I went to Oklahoma State, which was in August, and we were trying to plan a wedding, and it was running felt like kind of running into a lot of roadblocks with people telling me, you should have this way, you should have that way. And he said, why don't we just avoid the stress and go elope? So we got married at a courthouse in Guthrie, Oklahoma, October 13th of 2000.
Wow. So it was such a short amount of time. So you really didn't you
Exactly. And that I have learned since is actually one of the hallmarks of a narcissist. They will try to accelerate that timeline simply, I guess, so you don't realize that that's what they're doing is reeling you in. By the time
yeah.
you realize you're in, you're already hooked.
Wow. Yeah, that was my next question. Is that one of their strategies to like, manipulate you? And so it makes sense. They're trying to rush everything and do the chivalry thing, make you think like he is this perfect, amazing person, and then, you barely have any time to really understand him, and then boom, it's like you're stuck in the situation. And then once you're stuck in this situation, it's so hard for you to come out because he, already manipulated you to have fear and anxiety and overwhelm in your life. So when you do
Mm-hmm.
leave, you feel like you don't have that security.
Exactly. And they do erode your self esteem to the point where you really don't think that if you get out, nobody else is going to want you.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and just kind of an example, after I had our son, of course, I wasn't the 110-pound woman that he had married.
Mhm.
And so he started jumping on me about my weight. And I was having a hard time losing the baby weight. And actually, the diet that he kept, he was a very picky eater. The stuff that he wanted, that he would eat, wasn't hard to make. It was just not the healthiest.
Yeah.
And I would say, hey, why don't I fix a salad? Well, you can fix a salad for you, but I'm not eating it. And so, of course, you don't want to fix two meals. So you just go along with whatever they'll eat.
Wow, just like
And
too. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that specific thing. So that
I
makes
actually gained up to 210. So at
wow.
one,
Oh my God.
yes, I had gained up to 210. And I mean, like I said, he would ridicule me about my weight, saying, well, you'd be pretty if you weren't so fat.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
it's always backhanded compliments.
Mhm.
And I've often said that there were no gifts.
Yeah.
There are no gifts from the narcissist. I
Wow.
mean, yes, he would get me stuff like on my birthday, on our anniversary, Valentine's,
Hmm.
the dates that they're really supposed to get you something.
Yeah.
But a gift implies that they don't expect anything in return.
Mm.
And, that's why we yank the price tags off of stuff. Whenever you give somebody something, you yank the price tag off, you Sharpie out the price tag, whatever you have to do. With him, it wouldn't take but a couple of days. And it's, well, I just spent $100 on a pair of boots for you. You'd think you would kind of insert the task he thought I should be doing better on.
Mm.
It was all, the price of that was always held against me. It didn't matter if it was boots, if it, he didn't really buy, whenever it came to buying flowers, it was send me into Walmart with $20 on Mother's Day. And I was expected to come out with bouquets for his mom, his grandma, and me. And I couldn't. And if I came out with like equal size bouquets, or say mine was a little bit larger, yeah, I heard about it.
That's that's so insane. Just like even the little details. So he can like totally manipulate you into every aspect of your life, which is so, so crazy.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you for sharing the details because it really makes me understand, or listeners really understand, like how they really truly do this. Because from an outsider, you're just like, why can't you get yourself out of it, right? But then it's like when you're in the moment and you're listening to this on a daily basis, like you literally chip away at who you truly are, and then your mind starts
Yeah.
thinking something else. Yeah, like you had to cope with the trauma in the moment, but what actually got you to have the strength to leave him and to leave this situation, the abusive situation?
I actually, he left me first. I'll put it that way.
Mm.
He had, we had purchased a trailer house property just across the road from us.
Mhm.
We were at the end of a dead end street, and this trailer house was like the first house as you were going away from our house. It was originally intended for our son when he turned 18, that he would have, so he would have a place to go that was his own place, but still close to us,
Mhm.
still close to mom and dad, so we could
Yeah.
get together easily and stuff like that. He came up to me, it was shortly before my birthday, actually, and said, I have a friend that she's getting out of a bad relationship. She's pregnant. She doesn't have anywhere to go. Do you care if she stays in the trailer house for a while so she can get back on her feet? And of course, I'm saying, no, I don't care. If she needs to stay there for a month or two, fine. Our son wasn't turning 18 for until August. So yeah, we'll help her get back on her feet. I'll help her with whatever. That evening, he claimed that, oh, well, I'm going to spend the night at my grandpa's house tonight, and I'm moving out. And he never went to his grandpa's house. He moved in with her that night. He left me for this quote friend of his. I found out probably a week or two later. Facebook notified me, said, hey, do you want to keep this messenger account on your phone? Because I was the one that helped him set it up.
Mhm.
And I clicked on it, was going to just remove it. Well, when I clicked on it, it opened up the messenger, and I saw the text messages where he had been, she offered to split a motel room with him, quite frankly, with what money, I don't know. But anyhow, and he said, oh, yeah, I will. And she asked, kind of almost as an afterthought, said, are you single? And he said, no.
Wow.
And it's one of those, I'm not going to guarantee that's the only time he cheated,
Mhm.
but it's just the time that I found out about.
Mm.
And I actually tried to get him back for almost a year.
Mhm.
And so that's why I said, he left me 4 years ago. I left him 3 years ago.
Mm.
And really that aha moment came with Grey's Anatomy. I
Wow.
had started watching it in January of 2022 at the suggestion of a coworker of mine, she knew that I usually had trouble in January because uh, the death of the best friend I ever had. I mean, she was referred to by my family as the unofficially adopted eldest daughter.
Mm.
She had been killed in 1994. And
Mm.
so in January in a car accident. And so I
Mm.
just kind of always had a down,
Yeah.
kind of a downtime. There were just kind of feeling a little bit blue, missing her, of course. And so I started watching. And of course, no offense to the creators of Grey's Anatomy, but to pharmacy personnel, it's a comedy show
Mm-hmm.
because they get so many things wrong
Yeah.
with relation to my end of medicine.
Yeah.
But about April, I had gotten to season 5
Mm-hmm.
and I got to the episode. Most people remember the episode as the one where George dies. I
Mm.
remember it because that's the one where Derek and Meredith have their post-it wedding in the attendings lounge
Mm-hmm.
or residence lounge. Something about Patrick's acting. Whenever he says, "So what do we want to promise each other?" He's got the post-it note pad, he's got the pen in his hand, and ready to write these post-it note wedding vows. And it's kind of the way he looks at her when he says it,
Yeah.
and his voice, the conviction and everything. It just kind of all of a sudden hit me. You deserve better. You deserve this kind of relationship. You don't deserve what left you and is across the road, literally slamming it in your face every single time you walk out the door. I mean, I would see my husband with his mistress, as I
Yeah.
had termed her. But yeah, I just all of a sudden, it was like a ton of bricks hitting me that I deserve better. And I had actually, at the beginning of that week, I had updated my will. I wrote a note and I had a plan and a backup. My son was going to a friend's house that following weekend. And I had no intention of making it through to the next week.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's why I say Grey's Anatomy literally saved my life because I had planned to die.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because you were in such like you were in such a miserable state, right? So you just didn't want to even be alive to.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's one of those things it's the final symptom of depression is what suicide actually is. And I was in so much pain and I knew I wasn't being the best mom to my son. I knew that things weren't getting done like they needed to. And I literally could not see my way out
Yeah.
because, I kind of distanced myself from my family and I didn't, like I said, I didn't see anything other than that until that episode. And I have not been suicidal since that episode. Once I finished that scene was over, I went in and I deleted the note off of my computer. I
Wow.
do still have my will on my computer, but of course that's useful far, far in the future.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you. Thank you for sharing that story of like you being in that really mental state of wanting to end your life. But I'm so glad that the episode from Grey's Anatomy can like truly save your life. And I feel like that was like your guides or angels telling you like, hey, it's not the end for you, you know? And so
Yeah.
you're able to shift that mindset. And that's amazing because when you are in a depressed state, you literally all you see is like darkness. You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm glad that it did. So what did you do after that when you saw that? And did you get any help or what did you do to empower yourself so you can get out of that depressed state?
Really? And actually, as I said 2022 earlier, it was actually 2021 when that happened. I got off on the years a little bit. But I did for a little while in Oklahoma, was like shopping around for therapists, trying to talk to people. At one point, I had went and visited my parents, and I was talking with my older sister, trying to tell her what was actually going on. And I got told, oh, I know exactly what you're going through. My husband calls me names sometimes when we get in a fight. And I'm trying to tell her, so no, this isn't it. And it's one of those things when you get interrupted so many times and cut off when you're trying to tell somebody something, eventually you just quit trying to tell them.
Yeah.
And a lot of the therapists in Oklahoma had ties to my ex-husband, or they would try to go by the book. It would be like younger therapists still trying to, I guess, feel their way or something. And I didn't really feel like I was being listened to as much as they were listening to the symptoms and saying, hang on, let me look up this chapter. But my ex-husband was very well connected where we were. His best friend was the sheriff. That's one reason I never turned him in.
Wow.
Because I was kind of in a state too while it was happening. So, okay, if I do tell somebody, yeah, they might write a report, but it's going to get to the sheriff and then file 13. It's going to go in the shredder. It's going to go in the wastebasket. No, nothing's going to come of it.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's another narcissistic thing though, is like they're so manipulative. They know how to get connections and make sure that they look a certain way and they make people.
Exactly. I still get, and I know around Rolf, I'm probably painted as the crazy person. And I've just gotten to where I really don't care.
Yeah.
But yes. And of course, I have met Patrick since I moved up here. And he is, I will tell you, he is the sweetest guy ever. And he has helped me so much when it comes to healing. The first time I met him, I was able to tell him how he had literally saved my life. And he thanked me 2 or 3 times for telling him, gave me a big bear hug. And of course, we got a picture that night together. We now have 6 pictures.
Yay.
And actually, this past year, back in June, we were at an event. Yeah. And he encouraged me not to give up on therapy. Wow. And so I started looking again and actually found a therapist up here in Maine who got my PTSD score down from an 80 down to like a 9.
Wow, that's amazing. And how long did you work with this therapist to get that such a big difference?
I worked with her for several months. I've actually found her right after Patrick and I had talked. And so I would say it took about 6 months, but she did provide me with some tools and stuff like that to help with the flashbacks and all that kind of good stuff. The complex PTSD is something I know that I'm never going to be completely rid of it. Certain situations, I mean, triggers pop up out of nowhere. So it's always going to be there, but I know how to handle it.
Yeah. Can you tell us one of the things or one of the tools that you do for your PTSD? Do you like meditate or do you just reflect, do you journal or anything of that nature?
I do have worksheets that detail like breathing exercises I can do. And then, of course, I can distract myself. If I'm in the car, I have to have music on when I'm driving. And so I'll do it through my phone and I'll change the song. Just something to kind of, make my brain skip ahead. If I'm just alone in my house and say I'm in the kitchen making something, I'll come in the bedroom for a little bit and have a timer on my phone for whatever I'm cooking, and I'll start folding clothes. I'll just kind of start doing a different task and make my brain skip off of whatever it was that triggered it. There for a while, I was using Patrick's voice. I actually still have the podcast that he did a long time ago with Ellen Pompeo. It's called the Tell Me Podcast. I still got Spotify as a panic button on my phone, but I have not had to use it in over a year.
Wow, amazing. I'm so
So
glad. That's amazing. That's awesome. And I know he's like such a big pivotal person in your life for your healing journey.
definitely.
So beautiful. And I know that I think you have a tattoo, right?
I
Of-
do.
yeah. If you
Yes,
want to,
I do have a tattoo. It actually covers the only scar that my ex-husband actually gave me. Uh, it's a semicolon tattoo because of my near miss with my last suicide attempt, because the attempt that Patrick saved me from was not my first attempt.
oh my gosh.
It was just my last one. But
Mm,
yes, and his name is on the tattoo. He has seen it and approves of it, but it's mainly just to kind of as a tribute to what he's meant in my life.
yeah. That's inspiring. That's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I can't believe that's, yeah, you've had multiple attempts of committing suicide. I'm so sorry that you even had to come to that, mindset or ending of like, yeah. And was it because part of it is also that when he left you, he just made you feel even worse? Because people would ask, right? Like a question is, in my mind is, why would you, after he left you, why would you want to go back to him? Like, why would you want to have him back? Right?
Yeah, it's mainly the mindset they have you in. And it was, he kind of blindsided me with the affair, shall we say. And so in my mind, that's my husband and another woman's trying to steal him from me.
Mm.
So, and like I say, it's the mindset they have you in that who else is gonna who else is gonna want me
Yeah.
and all that kind of good stuff. No, I haven't dated since my ex-husband.
Oh.
But I mean, I feel like I'm finally ready. I just haven't had any offers. So
Aw, that's amazing. How long have you been healing? So since 2021, right?
yes. He left me in 2021. I have been healing since 2022.
Wow. 22, 23, 24. So 3 years now.
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
it's definitely not an easy road, and healing is not linear at all.
Yeah. It's not. Healing's a lot of up and downs, right? And it's like an emotional
Definitely.
roller coaster, mental, right? All that, even physical.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you have days where it's kind of like, yay, I'm doing good, I'm getting better,
Yeah.
I'm able to handle this, and then the next day something happens, and you feel like, okay, I'm not back down.
Yeah. Yeah, but do you feel like a lot of all of the contributions you've did for yourself is a lot of self-love, self-care that you're giving to yourself so you can heal?
Definitely, and I will say that volunteering is a big part of that. As you know, I do volunteer when I can, anyhow, with Dempsey Center. I
Yeah.
actually messaged the CEO, say, yeah, if I volunteered as much as I want to for them, I probably wouldn't have a job. So, and I kind of like having a roof over my head and food to eat. So,
Yeah.
but
Aw. So you found purpose through the Dempsey Center is like something
yes,
knowing. Aw.
yes,
How did you get involved with the Dempsey Center? Well, I know Patrick Dempsey's like a huge pivotal person in your healing journey, but like, what attracted you to the Dempsey Center?
after I joined a couple of fan pages on Facebook for Patrick. And of course, I followed him
Yeah.
on Facebook and Instagram.
Mhm.
I started seeing advertisements for Dempsey Center and started kind of looking into what are they about, because the reason I got interested in medicine in the first place
Mhm.
was I was a care partner for my grandmother in 2006.
Mm.
And, I saw the toll that cancer took on her. I remember it was shortly before she passed away, actually in December. She had eaten a fruit cup of pears that night. And I was so excited because she'd eaten. And had been like a couple days since she had been able to eat and hold anything down, thanks to the medications and stuff like that. I actually, I probably drove her doctors nuts asking them about her medications. What are you giving her? What's it for? What's it do? How does it do this? And around that time, I was working for Walmart, and a position came open at Walmart in the pharmacy as a pharmacy clerk. I went home, told my ex-husband, said, hey, this is something I'm really wanting to get into, and essentially got told that I wasn't smart enough to get into this field. Got told, you're going to kill somebody, you'll give him, you know, he squashed it, talked me out of it. And even years later, once I finally got into the pharmacy field as a pharmacy clerk in 2015, at that point, it was a job. Yes, I was in the field that I initially wanted to be in 2006, but it was a job. It was what I went to and came home from. 2017, Travis and I actually separated for a little while, and did paperwork on it and everything else. And my pharmacist manager that was at Walmart said, okay, you are spending so much time telling these technicians how they can better do their jobs. You need to be the one doing it. And so she got me my first tech license. That was in March of 2017. Well, my ex-husband realized that pharmacy techs make more money than pharmacy clerks. So he started coming back around. And even when 2019, I was working for the Chickasaw Nation in Oklahoma, and I took my national exam, and I missed 5 questions on a 100-question test that dealt almost exclusively with inpatient knowledge. There's 3 versions of the national exam. Like I said, I got the one that dealt mainly with inpatient knowledge. I had spent my entire pharmacy career in outpatient pharmacy, which is it's 2 different things. And I swear by the time that test was over, I probably could have calculated an IV drip rate with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
But I missed 5 questions on that test out of 100.
Wow.
And got home, and of course I was excited about it. Told him about it, and got told, you got lucky. You did better than you were supposed to on that test. In other words, you're still not smart enough.
Yeah.
Is what I heard.
That's crazy.
And when I started researching about Dempsey Center, that passion that got ignited in 2006 for medicine, that came flooding back. And now, in helping Dempsey Center just in whatever capacity they need me to, be it cleaning the parking lot or helping to spruce up the center or whatever, I almost feel like it's an extension of what I was unable to do for my grandma, because I'm helping a place that helps make life better for them. And that's what Dempsey Center is all about, is making life easier for those with cancer. And they do it all at no cost to any of their clients. They actually have online stuff too, so it's not just for people in Maine.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's a ton of like counseling. I know online they have nutrition classes, they have yoga classes.
Wow.
And of course, in Maine, they have wig help, they have acupuncture, they have all sorts of things that just help make it easier and make the process easier.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story, because it really like touches people's heart. It touched mine just to even hear that, you know? So that's so beautiful that you're able to have like the connection to Dempsey, and then that Dempsey Center like was able to ignite something within you. And then see, it's like all like aligning, and it's so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
they have definitely helped my healing so much.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you're here now, healthy, being able to share your story. Like I said in the beginning, you're so resilient. It's amazing. Like I wouldn't even be able to do that, but that means you're healing and you're only able to share when you're healing or healed from a situation. So
Yes.
totally like past that and you're just like, but again, like you said, you have PTSD. Sometimes traumas will come back up, like all of us do, but you're working through it. You're like doing a lot of self-love, self-care. And it's so beautiful to hear that, you are ready to date even after all of what you've been through, because some people may not have the courage to do that again. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. So for anyone listening who might be in an abusive relationship but is scared to leave, what advice would you give them?
Hey, I get it. It is scary. But the people that were there before the abuse, before everything happened, they're still there. All you have to do is reach out. And there are a ton of hotlines and stuff. And I know I've often heard about the deal, you call 911 and you order a pizza. And the 911 operators, I have heard anyhow, are trained that, they'll say, do you realize you called 911? And they start in with yes or no questions. And so, if this person has a weapon, ask for extra pepperoni or whatever, and they'll kind of guide the conversation like that to where it's easier for them to kind of navigate how to help this person get out. There are resources out there. And like I said, it is tough to take that first step. But I mean, you can do it. I mean, hey, look at me.
Yeah, I need
But
inspiration.
it's definitely been a long road. And I'm still on it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But
But you're showing like you can come out of it. Like your story is literally about resilience, and I can't even imagine how it is to be in your shoes. And you just gave us a little bit of that story. Like I wouldn't even imagine how it having to go through that abusive every day of your life. That's for I don't even know how long. And then just feeling in a state of like less than. But then, you're meant for something greater, which you are. Now you're standing carrying your power, and it's beautiful to see.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So last but not least, where can the listeners connect or learn more about you?
I am on Instagram and Facebook. My Facebook and my Instagram are verified. So they do have the little blue check mark. I had an instance here a while back where a friend of mine who is actually in Italy came across a fake Facebook page that had my picture and another name. And I'm kind of, okay, if they want my story, they can have it, but take the mental issues that come with it. But yeah, ever since then, I did go through the process and get verified on those two. I am on TikTok. Uh, Kara.pharma is on TikTok. It's PHARMA, kind of as a nod to my career. Uh,
Amazing.
and I do post a lot of just kind of, sometimes it seems random. And on my Instagram, yes, there are a lot of posts that will go back to, a lot of them do thank Patrick sake because every time he sees me now, it's okay, you're still doing good, aren't you? And it's kind of, I guess, trying to help him follow along with, yes, she's still here, she's still doing good.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's beautiful.
and usually in April I do post a long one that kind of details my experience with suicide because that's was my turning point.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're
So
a survivor, which is amazing. So, and then Instagram too, you said it's kind of random, but I'm like, nothing's random. It's always truly what you want to put out there. And anything you put out there is always going to help somebody. May it be,
yeah.
it feel like it's random, but it's not. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, like I say, sometimes it kind of, my posts kind of seem random because yes, I will post about stuff I've eaten, I'll post about cars, I'll post A thank you to Patrick. I'll post stuff about my grandkids, but I mean, that's kind of, yeah, I mean, we've all been there where, I mean, your brain just seems to be going 16 different directions at once, and really posting helps me focus a lot
Yeah,
of that energy. So,
yeah, I get it. You're just posting what your interests are and what makes you happy.
yeah.
That's all that matters. That's what I do too. And I love
Hmm.
that. Thank you for being you and thank you for being here and sharing your story and being open with us today. I know it takes a lot of courage to do this and to speak up and speak about this. So thank you for doing that and being here. I really
Definitely.
appreciate it. Thank
Thank you.
you.